You look back at all the experiences.
Kansas City Chiefs have won another Super Bowl.
Philadelphia dominated by the Buccaneers.
We all want to be the last team standing.
All that we go through, all that we've been through, even this moment right here.
Saquon's been able to take us to the next level.
And the fans chant MVP.
This is why I came to Philly. The only thing that matters is winning games.
What a season, but it's not over yet.
Well, how the turntables. Welcome into First Take. I am Elle Duncan, holding things down in Molly's chair right now. J-Mac, what up? Cam Newton, what up?
ATL in here.
Oh, ATL. We've already been rapping Jeezy this morning, so here we go. Stephen, I hear you have rules for me. What?
Excuse, don't tell the audience. Don't tell the audience. You're an experienced host. You got the tease, Al. You got the tease, okay? Come on now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that Cam and J-Mac is in studio, replacing your boy. I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. But, Cam, Jay, Elle Duncan is hosting today, and you do understand that when you are hosting, there are rules and regulations to be followed before we do anything else. So we have to establish what those rules are. Could you put them up on the screen for America to see, please,
you made
in the world?
Screen?
Elle Duncan, this is not Sports Center, okay? This is not Sports Center, okay? It ain't a highlight show, and you get there do all that your stuff. No. This is different, okay? Now, rule number 2. No bossing around moi. Yours truly, Stephen A. Smith. No bossing me around, Al. That's not allowed. That's not allowed. Number 3, Cam Newton will speak when Stephen A. says so. Not before. Not before, okay? And last but not least, put that thing up again. Al, I know you like to get down, you know what I'm saying, showing what you can do with your moves and all of that stuff. But no more break dancing, all right? That was the 90s, all right? No more break dancing now. Those are the rules.
I was getting my ray gun on.
I just wanted to chime in with that list. I don't know who came up with it, but I do know.
It was me.
I think you know.
That's cool. I got an email this morning that said, hey, we just wanted to invite varsity to the set outside of, the obviously. So varsity's here.
Talk to him.
Reporting for duty. Former teammates, by the way.
Sir.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So,
Wait, are you insinuating Stephen A. is junior varsity?
Made the shoe fit where it may, Cinderella. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not even junior. Listen, I'm not even junior varsity when it comes to the football field. Damn it, I ain't Pop Warner. But on this show, I'm that dude. I'm Cam. Let's go. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go, y'all.
Motion to add another rule that I get to move on whenever I want. After I make a salient point, I get to drop the mic and move topics.
Say less.
I think that's great. In fact, let's get to our first topic of the day, shall we? Because the countdown's officially on, friends. 10 days from the Super Bowl in a rematch of Super Bowl 57. You got the Chiefs and the Eagles. The Eagles, revenge-minded against a Chiefs team that, have you heard, is chasing history. No team's ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. But as for those upset-minded Eagles, they've reached their 2nd Super Bowl in 3 seasons, and Jalen Hurts has been instrumental in that success. Since 2022, Hurts has 42 wins. It trails only Patrick Mahomes and leads the league with an impressive 51 rushing touchdowns over that span. So, Stephen A., what would be more impressive, a Jalen Hurts just Super Bowl appearance or an MVP caliber season such as what we saw from Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson?
Well, listen, it's kind of tricky because obviously we look at certain things, but I'm going to say a Super Bowl appearance. That's what I'm going to go with, because especially in this day and age with Lamar Jackson potentially en route to capturing his 3rd league MVP, it doesn't mean that much to us anymore because he's not playing in the biggest game that counts. And so when you look at a Super Bowl appearance, you've won your conference. You're 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl championship. And I think when you look at it from that vantage point, it's not to diminish the league MVP by any stretch of the imagination. But in the case of Lamar Jackson, for example, as we sit here today, we know how great he is. We know how phenomenal he is. We know that he's worthy of MVP consideration, if not achievement. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter. It pales in comparison to a championship. We've got a former league MVP right here on the set right now in Cam. I ask you, Cam, if you could give back that league MVP for a Super Bowl championship, would you do it?
Nope.
Oh.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Because you have to ask it through this lens. That was a very journalistic viewpoint or vantage point or response, Stephen A. I'll ask you this question, and just to pose this thought: what's more important, impact or championships? You look at a guy like Allen Iverson, you stood up on the table and blah 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 blah. Everybody's not going to be Michael Jordan. Everybody's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. Everybody's not going to be these individuals who have the luxury of saying, hey, I not only dominated this sport, but I also have championships to back it. Like, let me remind you, Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Respectfully, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. So, yes, when you look at those guys and you say, okay, what's more important? Would you have preferred to win a Super Bowl? I think that's the humble approach, but if we're being honest, the impact of you holding yourself accountable to say everybody has a responsibility to do. And you can say as an MVP award winner or an All-American, you've held yourself or you've held your end of the bargain down. And that's what it really comes down to for me. I know that's not the popular pick. I'm trying to be popularized. But my take is I'm taking individual success because I did my job. Football is not about one guy trying to do 11 jobs. It's 11 guys doing one job.
I respect everything that you're saying. It sounds like what you're saying is you think that it would be more impressive, the MVP. I think it would be impressive if the MVP is Lamar because we've only had a handful that have won 3, and I don't think any of them will won 3 by the time they were 27 years old. Wildly impressive. But ultimately, you guys, Jalen Hurts has now had 2 Super Bowl appearances before age 27 years old. There's only a handful of quarterbacks that have ever done that. In fact, the other ones that have done that before were either Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers. That is wildly impressive to me, especially when you consider that this guy, how many times have we said with the success of quarterbacks that it is contingent on consistency at the coordinator position? We talked about that with RG3 and why he never ended up living up to that potential, right? We've talked about that time and time again. People seem to forget that Jalen Hurts has had a cycle of coordinators as well, right? This is a guy who we have tried to minimize his contributions as much as possible. I give you that. I still don't necessarily have him in my top 5 just in terms of arm talent, but what he does incredibly well. But ultimately, when we talk about these guys he's trying to join, the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens, what does he have over them? He has 2 Super Bowl appearances in the last 3 years alone. To me, that is more impressive, whether he wins or not, than winning another MVP, simply because you put your team in a position and did what you had to do to get them there to compete for the ultimate prize. The ultimate prize to you may have been the MVP. I think typically the ultimate prize would be winning a championship.
And I think the ultimate prize is definitely winning a championship. But to Cam's point, you control what you can control. And sometimes you're on a team where it's out of your control of getting that championship. But any and everything you could have possibly done, you've accomplished that and then some. When we look at Jalen Hurts, part of the thing where I think you're looking at him in that caliber, because he did have an MVP caliber season in 2022 when they went to the Super Bowl. Didn't win it because Mahomes was that much better, but he was right there on par with him. Cam, you mentioned some of the names that have won Super Bowls. Hell, you can put my name on the list. I won a Super Bowl. I'm sitting here across from an MVP player in Cam Newton. If you have to pick one of our careers, yes, I won a Super Bowl. Hell, I'm taking Cam's 10 times out of 10. I'm raising a little boy. If he can have that level of a career and win an MVP and be one of the best players in the NFL in a given season, that is something extraordinary that not everybody can accomplish. There are going to be 53 guys on an active roster when you win a Super Bowl that are going to be out there in the confetti, putting the T-shirt and the hat on, family going crazy, wife and girlfriend on the field somehow on opposite ends, and we having a blast. There's only going to be one person in a given season that's going to be able to say, I was the MVP. I was the best player in the NFL for that season, the most valuable one on an NFL roster. To me, that supersedes a Super Bowl appearance.
Let me bring it around in a way that y'all might comprehend it just a touch better, okay? You and Cam, all right? So we all in this business, L, me, you, everybody else, you know, we want to get paid, okay? Let me tell you something right now. When you get paid, is the money going into your bank account directly deposited? That answer is yes. You know what the real winners in this business do? they don't think about the money once they know it's there because now you got to perform and live up to it. Mm-hmm. You juxtapose that, you take that into account when you're talking about football players. If you a scrub or you an average player and you have an MVP caliber year, wow, yeah, you love that. But when you're great, the validation to that greatness is championships. It's standing on top when the end arrives and everybody else is lower because you got what they couldn't achieve. And what I'm saying to you is that if you are an average player, Cam, which obviously you were not, so maybe you can't relate, okay, then, it's a big damn deal to win the league MVP. And I'm not saying it's a small deal even for somebody as great as you were. What I'm saying is, in the end, what you're in pursuit of is standing on top when the end arrives. You're the king. You're the champion. We talk about the LeBrons. We talk about the Jordans. We talk about the Kobes and stuff like that. The reason why we can continuously talk about them is because they got chips to show for it. At some point in time, they were the creme de la creme. They were number one. All right? And number one ain't the MVP for a regular season performance. I promise you. Lamar Jackson didn't give a damn about league MVP this year. When he first got it, it mattered. He didn't give a damn about it this year. He wanted to be playing a week from Sunday. He ain't doing that. It hurts a lot. That MVP ain't going to do much for him. That's what I'm saying.
It's easy for somebody to say something when you have something.
Once you've accomplished it, yeah.
It's almost like, respectfully, Stephen A., you ain't tripping on no money. But at one point of your life, you were thinking, man, I got to get to this bag. I mean, everybody ain't able to go to
Miami. Well, I think he still feels like he wants to get to the bag.
Oh,
no?
for sure. That mean, now, hold on. Now, you're going there, L. You're going there. I didn't go there. He went there. Everybody don't have access to company jets and stuff like that. But needless to say, to stay on topic, what I will say to you is this. If the Eagles lose, you know who's going to be the most mad? Saquon Barkley. Because Coach Sirianni took Saquon out of the lineup in order for him to potentially have a generational career. Generational year where he could have beat Eric Dickerson for the rushing title. Mm-hmm. So when you think about that, looking back at it, when you get to the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and you look back at your career, the common question is going to be asked, what did you do? Cool. Not only what did you do, and it does not always measure up to Super Bowls because I've always said this about sports as a whole. You never go into a season saying, oh, it's a me type of thing. You talk about sports, it comes down to so many different determining factors. Missed field goal, missed blocked assignments, drop passes. Hey, so.
Hold on, a couple of things. Number one, for the record, I have zero access to the company jets. The jets I take are usually the ones I order. It's not the company jet. That's number one. That's number one. Let's be clear about that.
That makes it better.
That's
can I get a ride?
It's a rare occurrence. It's a rare occurrence, but it happens from time to time. That's number one. Number two, Cam, I get your point. But what I'm saying is this. For example, you say Saquon Barkley. I can make the argument it's going to hurt Jalen Hurts just as much because he will have lost 2 Super Bowls, not just one. And it's to the same guy, okay, that's standing in his way. Okay, I could say that, but I understand your point about the MVP. My issue is that when you're great, it doesn't matter. Like you said, when your career is over, you can reflect and feel a certain way. But when you're in the throes of action, you on that damn football field, not me. You were getting hit, not me. You and Jay were getting hit, not me. Y'all were hitting folks, not me. So when you out on that field and you putting your body on the line and your health on the line, the championship is what you're playing for. Mm-hmm. When you retire and you reflect, that's different. But while you're in the throes of action, everybody that I've run into was like, yo, it's about getting that chip. It's about standing on top when the end arrives.
Well, but when he talks
that's what
about
they said.
For sure. But when you talk about that level of greatness, The reason we talk about certain athletes and their level of greatness, whether it is a Charles Barkley or it is a Dan Marino, is because of the success these guys have had. It's when we're mentioning their names as possible MVPs because of their dominance that they've put forth in their respective sports. So you can't get that mindset and that thought process to what you're saying of chasing those rings to validate the greatness until you've accomplished the other things to be even put in that same conversation or that same thought process.
But see, here's my thing is, and why I'm with Stephen A, is that, like, J-Mac, you mentioned, you know, a Super Bowl appearance, and Cam, you talked about how difficult it is, and all of these things have to happen for you to make the Super Bowl. That, to me, is why it's all the more impressive that Jalen Hurts is back here 2 years removed from being in the Super Bowl, despite the weapons that he lost. And yes, I get it. They've got one of the best defense. They have one of the best defenses in his first Super Bowl. They've got the best defense right now. They retool. Well, no, I mean, I'm saying he's had to retool. They lost both of their coordinators, and in 2 years, they're back here. He lost a Hall of Fame center. Like, he did lose pieces from that other team, and they're right back here 2 years later. In fact, I think he broke a streak of like 17 straight players, or for 17 straight years, to get back after losing in their debut. So, like, that is wildly impressive. That not just a Super Bowl appearance, 2 Super Bowl appearances in the last 3 years, despite how much turnover and attrition that we see with free agency and some of the pieces that have been removed.
Two things real quick. Stephen A., to your point, from this type of narrative, let me ask you this. Is Robert Horry better than LeBron James?
No.
Who has the more championships?
Robert Horry.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying in that regard.
When you prioritize and you say, oh, man, it's about championships. Oh, man, it's about championships. Well, there's people who won multiple championships, and then you say to yourself, he was on that team?
Because you got to get to that level of greatness
I think it's a different argument.
It's so many different things. It's bigger than just you got to uphold your end of the bargain.
Fair. But I guess what I'm looking at, Cam, is this: LeBron James would have been crucified if he had never won a championship.
Correct.
More so than if he had never won a league MVP.
Correct.
Yes. He had never won a championship. He would have been held more accountable for that than never winning a league MVP honors. Outside of that, the only perplexed look on my face, I'm a bit frustrated because Cam brought up something. Why haven't I had access to the company jet? I mean, damn. I mean, I just thought about that. Wait a minute now.
Iger, sir.
Negotiations always going on.
We got to have a conversation. I mean, damn.
But listen to
as much as I work, as much as I travel, I mean, then I should have. I'm going to think about that later. Go ahead. I'm upset. Go ahead.
But to the point of L, I then asked you this question because I've been all type of different name callings because of my game-changing, game manager viewpoint.
Yeah.
All of the game changers are in the AFC. If you put the Philadelphia Eagles or Jalen Hurts in the AFC, would he be able to have gotten to the Super Bowl as many times?
Well, I mean, probably not, because Patrick Mahomes would be standing in his way.
But NFC, when you see Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, that's must-see TV, yes?
Yes.
When you see Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or even Joe Burrow, that's must-see TV, right?
Yes.
What's must-see TV in the NFC?
Well, that's not completely fair. Yes, they're top-heavy in terms of, like, the must-see marquee names at quarterback. But you can't tell me there aren't great competition.
I'm not saying that.
It was a great game that they had against the Commanders, right? Like, watching the Lions play this year, despite what happened to Jared Goff towards the end of the year, like, you're right in that when we talk about this era of quarterbacks, most of them are, yes, going to be coming from the AFC. But my point here is that it's nothing to sneeze at in Jalen Hurts, despite the game management that we all like to give him, that title. It's nothing to sneeze at that he's in two within 3 years at age 27 years old. Like, that's really, really impressive, especially when you considered how much attrition we saw them.
Let me ask you out a question. We talk about Lamar Jackson. We talk about Josh Allen. Neither one of those guys have been to a Super Bowl. who do we look down on more for not being able to get over the hump and get to a Super Bowl? Is it Lamar Jackson? It's Lamar Jackson. Why is it Lamar Jackson?
Because of the MVPs during the regular season.
Because that changes your level of greatness and the expectation for you to be able to get there and win and get those rings. So when you talk about LeBron James, yes, we may not look upon an MVP the same way we do a championship, but at the same time, once you have those and you've accomplished those things, they put you on a completely different playing field.
That still doesn't make the issue that still doesn't answer the question about more impressive, but I get your point. You're absolutely right about that. Just for a side note, Lamar Jackson, only multiple league MVP to have never played in the Super Bowl. Steve Nash is the only multiple MVP in NBA history who never played in the NBA Finals. And Mike Trout, 3 league MVPs, is a player who's never played in a World Series. So I just wanted to throw that out for y'all.
Well, you know what? You didn't have this as one of your rules off the top of the show, but I think after a great research nugget like that, that's a perfect place to drop that mic, Stephen A. So we'll do exactly that and get
him, Al.
on First Take. There he goes. Drop it.